Hello, kindreds, and welcome to a very special first edition of The Stories That Shape Us. This is a new series that I'm interested in. If you're new to my channel or if you're coming from Louise's channel, we'll introduce in a moment our very special guest. Welcome. And if you're not new, you've been around a while, then you know that I, as an actor and as a writer and as a storyteller, filmmaker, creator, have been exploring for a long time how the stories that we tell about ourselves and about each other shape our experience of reality. Wow, whether we intend to or not. So, what we're excited to do here is to bring our awareness into today, Medusa, the story of Medusa, and how that story, that myth, and our experience of it has shaped maybe parts of ourselves. Certainly it has for me. So, welcome. And without further ado, my special guest today is Louise Platt, who is an incredible, very intuitive galactic astrologer. Oh, and I think it was about a year ago that I reached out to you, Louise, for a reading, which was so deeply, it was like 50 pages. I mean, it's incredible. If you haven't had a reading with her, wow. And I just felt so seen by your work. And I do with the content on your channel as well. So if you're new to Louise, check out her work there. If you're new to astrology, do you believe in the tides? Do you believe in the sun and its influence, their influence on our planet? So if so, one way to think about it, if you're like, I don't know, astrology, it's all out there, is that the cells in our body, the relationship between the cells in our body and our organs, to me, are like the celestial bodies and us. Maybe we're not always aware. The cell in my elbow might not be aware or see my sun, my heart, but it's certainly influenced by that energy. So that's a little tiny intro. So Louise, welcome. If you'd share some more about galactic astrology and your particular flavor of it, that'd be great.
Hey, hi, yeah, so it's really cool to be here and really excited to talk about Medusa because I know, yeah, well, I've done a few sort of videos about her and it's resonated with lots of people. So, yeah, but before we get into talking about her, galactic astrology is it's quite niche. So, I mean, obviously, if you follow my channel, you'll know what it is I do. But for anybody that's new, it effectively takes base as a basis traditional astrology, which is where we sort of look at the planets within our solar system and plot them and sort of interpret them and decipher them within our natal blueprint. And when we work with galactic astrology, we extend it beyond the solar system. So we're kind of working with what we call fixed stars, which are all those beautiful sort of patterns and constellations up in that we see in the night sky. And just as with, say, Mars or the Sun or the Moon in our immediate sort of solar system, the fixed stars each have their own sort of archetype, their own expression, their own signature, and their own wisdom. And what I've learnt to do is sort of learnt to basically translate what they represent and how they are interacting with each of us, but collectively, but also sort of the reading I did for you was, on your natal chart, your soul blueprint. So it's kind of bringing in something that is kind of very vast and very cosmic and very out there and making it sort of relevant for the here and now. And I absolutely love working with fixed stars because they are timeless. It's the idea that, our ancestors have looked up at the skies and seen the same patterns, and how so many of the myths that are woven, that we've told, and that we've passed down through the different generations, are basically mapped out in the skies. So yeah, it's phenomenal. And like you say, it's hard to explain how it works or, even why it works, but it just does. And yeah. It's phenomenal, and I think yeah, just kind of giving, I guess it gives us a point of reference, and particularly with I mean, for me, astrology is the most fantastic modality because it kind of helps. it gives me a sense of self-awareness. So it helps me understand who I am. And this is what I do in my work. I help people understand who they are through astrology. But when we sort of bring in the fixed stars, it's extending our experience and our awareness beyond like the 3D and the kind of human sort of day-to-day reality and existence, and just sort of, yeah, extends beyond. And the people that are kind of drawn to my work in particular are very similar to me in that they kind of feel out of place here. They feel like they don't necessarily belong, and they're like, they don't really understand sort of human behaviors or, what on earth. And they kind of feel like they're here for a reason, but it can be really difficult to remember what that is. And through my work, because I know I was there, I felt that. And it was astrology that helped me uncover, what my purpose is and why I'm here and where I'm from. And it's really about, yeah, like you said, being seen, kind of having this reason, this validation for, okay, there's nothing wrong with me, and what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, there's actually a reason for it. And, I think that's what we all are really desperate. We all want to be seen. But
Mm.
ironically, I'm saying that I think with Medusa, the theme is, fear of being seen. So, which I'm sure we'll
Yes.
get into.
Yes. And I just wanted to, for people who are new to the concept of a fixed star,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't move. It just means to our perspective, it's so far that it's not traversing the sky in the same way. Or how would you describe that?
So whereas the planets and the asteroids kind of move around the zodiac, and fixed stars are they have a fixed position, so that's what makes them timeless. They do move, but only fractionally, so 1 degree every 72 years. So
They're relevant to us.
yes,
They
yeah.
might be hurtling through space, but relevant to
Well,
our
yeah,
perspective.
I mean, it's just, yeah, it's more the kind of timelessness nature of them, and yeah, the fact that they're just always there, and also they give us perspective. So, yes, it's very interesting when you start sort of looking at how they are mapped into your kind of your natal placements, and how they're interacting, the conversations that they're having. And I particularly in my work, I started off more kind of star seed type perspective, but as I've kind of evolved and learnt more, I'm being really drawn to the myths and the stories and the archetypes, and yeah, and the tales, and how actually they give us this kind of aware, I guess, key to understand, what it is that we're going through, because we can sort of read about the heroes and the villains, within the myths, and we kind of recognize aspects of ourselves, and that's kind of what's happening in the sky as well.
Yeah. And what I'm so excited about from your previous Medusa videos, which we'll link in here, is your reframe. Because
Mm,
this that time I feel I've mentioned this before on my channel, but one of the most powerful things that we as storytellers, we're all storytellers and we're all making up stories the whole time. But what we can do, how we can show up to these times
mm,
is to examine those stories that we've been told, that we didn't even realize we were shaping us, and go, how else might we see this? What what other perspectives can I give that can change what this means to me? And so what I loved particularly in your recent Medusa video, you spoke about, well, maybe you should just share, if you would, the kind of the original take on her myth and then your take. Would you do a little recap? I know you go into it more deeply before.
yeah, sure. Well, I think, I mean, for some reason, I've always been quite fascinated with Medusa, but my perspective and understanding of her was as the monster, the snake, the head, the snakes, and the kind of advice or warning that if you met her gaze, then you would be turned into stone, and that would be the end. And in the films that I've seen, she's always portrayed as this, this really scary, kind of figurehead. And yeah, you mustn't, you've got to stay away from her. And she kind of came, so I've always kind of been quite fascinated with her, but never really sort of known about her story. And to be honest, it's only in the last sort of 12 months that I've really started learning about the myths in the detail that I now are sort of coming to learn about. but there's a fixed star in the skies called Algol, which represents her head. And I think it was at the time that yeah, it was being activated by Uranus that I sort of started looking at her story in more depth. And what I learnt was that there's a whole part of Medusa's story which, it's there in the Greek myths if you're, if you've got the time, and many people, I'm sure many people will be familiar, but it was certainly news to me that she was originally a really beautiful kind of maiden, pure goddess type figure. And she was a devotee of Athena. She worked in Athena's temple, and she was also allegedly, again, there's lots of different versions of these myths, but she was a seer, but it was the purity and the beauty that was a real sort of dominant kind of feature for her. And she caught the eye of Poseidon, who, was very enthralled by her beauty and her purity. And when she, refused to kind of yeah kind of succumb to his whims, he basically violated her. And just yeah, so she
In the
was
temple, I was reading.
yeah,
In the
yeah, she
temple of
was
Athena.
yeah, she was
Yeah.
betrayed and violated. And instead of sort of Athena coming to her rescue and kind of taking her side. And again, there's different versions of the story. Some say that Athena turned her into a monster as a form of protection so that no other man would ever be able to do that for her. Other people sort of say that, it was through sheer horror and disgust that she turned Medusa into this. It was because apparently it was Medusa's hair that was particularly striking, so she turned the hair into to snakes. And obviously, no man could ever dare cast his eyes upon her again, because if they did, she would be turned into stone. So it was this kind of so her original form was actually the goddess, very pure, very devoted, very beautiful. And then she was turned into this monster. And of course, as part of that, she was then exiled. She had to sort of go and live out the rest of her days in isolation. And then the more famous part of her story is when Perseus sort of appears, because he was sort of sent on a task to get Medusa's head. And he was given this help. I think he had the winged sandals of Hermes and the sword of Athena to slice her head off. And so yeah, he tricked Medusa by using his shield to deflect her stare, so he didn't sort of, he didn't catch her gaze. And he yeah, took her head off, and then used it to free Andromeda, the princess. So yeah, it's a pretty brutal kind of story. But for me, it just sort of it resonated so deeply. And I'm still, I mean, we'll go into perhaps why, but just the fact that it's the demonization of the divine feminine ultimately. And
And the seer, that she was already a seer.
yes,
And then when in that video, when you made that connection of, because we knew that if you look her in the eyes, you will turn to stone.
yeah,
Um, and then when you brought in this reframe of that, when we look and that she can see the truth.
yeah.
And so when you look in her eyes, you are seeing your true self. And if you can't handle that, you become petrified.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Because I was sort of going along the lines of yeah, the eyes as the window or the mirror to the soul. And actually, we have been told that it's dangerous to look at her, but what does she represent? And it was the fact, yeah, exactly what you said. It was this kind of realization that so many of us are just well, I think that there's an aspect of being terrified to see the true self and ultimately your true force and your true power. But there's also this kind of external sort of tale or warning that if you do, then somehow, it's going to be really dangerous. So you mustn't just look away. It's not even on, an option. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting. Because of course, as part of the compliance, the control, it's not safe if people start to remember how powerful they are and how yeah, and the truth of who we are. So it's almost like, yeah, it will create this story to, yeah, just keep people away from their truth. So yeah, the other thing that I've been really drawn to, because I've got a lot of kind of serpent energy in my chart with the fixed stars, and I think you have as well. Um, is this kind of idea of the snake and the serpent being really dangerous. And of course, we can track back, to the Bible, even things like Harry Potter. The snake is always the demon, the evil one, the dangerous one. And of course, Medusa's head is just a mass of snakes.
Yeah.
And what does the snake represent? Ultimately, there's a whole kind of narrative you can go down,
Yeah,
looking at
but
that
that
as well.
knowledge and truth also, and
Mm.
transformation
Yes.
and flow. Snakes are flow, and they're so fast, and their
Mm.
belly is connected to the earth.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Oh,
And it's the Kundalini as well, isn't it? It's that kind of untapped, dormant potential that basically, we all have that creative power, that sexual energy that, so many of us, if we don't always kind of maximize it or unleash it. And, there's a whole, the snake, the Kundalini, the spine, and, then you can kind of go into the Asclepius story and Ophiuchus, and, the fact that when you sort of learn the truth of the serpent and the divine feminine and all the wisdom and the healing power as well, because obviously they can regenerate. There's kind of lots of healing and wisdom in there as well. It's like, again, it's almost like yeah, it's that danger, if we know too much, if we know that we've got the power to kind of heal ourselves, then what's that going to unleash? So yeah, I think for me it's been kind of Medusa came in at a time for me where I was really exploring kind of my own fear of visibility and my own fear of my own power. And I was very drawn to the narrative of the witch wound, which is the fear that so many of us carry, especially if we're a sort of sensitive, empaths, spiritual people, because there are so many sort of past lifetimes and memories of, being persecuted and being, yeah, hurt and tortured. Um, and so I think, there's so much fear of, oh my God, if I stand up and sort of speak my truth and, and dare to be visible, what's going to happen? And so that's been a big part of my journey, sort of pushing through that fear, and knowing that I'm actually part of my soul purpose is to speak and to be seen. And and the sheer terror, and of course the petrification, they almost like kind of like, this terror of like, if I kind of stand up and start talking, am I actually going to, freeze? It's that freeze or, yeah, that freeze response where the fear is just so overwhelming. It's just like, ugh. And I think this is what Medusa also has kind of brought up for me. So it's been a journey.
yep, continuing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
wow, but hey, we've come this far, and we've
Mm,
already gone through, and I'm sure many people who come to this video, we've done some good work. That's good. It's helpful to be where we are now with that journey. But there's something you said when you mentioned that freeze response. I thought, oh, I can use that as a cue for myself when I'm in a
mm,
freeze to go, oh, well, then I must be right into my truth. So if I can add some breath, if I can drop my roots into the earth, if I can
mm,
release the energy and not try and keep it in my body and just settle, then I'm right on track. Then there's something really here for me.
mm.
Oh gosh, there's so much, Louise. It's been a journey for me too. People think that, oh, if you come on YouTube, it must be easy for you. Or if you're an actor, then you must just love being in front of people. Y'all, no. You notice if you're new to me and I do lots of accents, I love them. It's part of me being able to just express myself in all the different ways that I feel called. But I was a very shy kid. I am
Mm,
an introvert. I am a writer. I like my cave. And we have work to do here. And it feels so good to be able to share the things that are resonant and to feel how they're resonant for each other and for others. So it is a worthy deep dive. But you mentioned hair. And my
Mm,
hair was always something that I have a lot of hair and I love my hair and I'm grateful for my hair. And it's like attached very deeply to that fear that I inherited very deeply and that was shaped onto me also with a desire to protect me from my mom, from my grandmother, of that fear of men being attracted to you.
mhm.
I would say people, but really for them it was the fear of men being attracted to me. Um, and then so in that story, this cautionary tale of because she was beautiful
Yeah.
and didn't just go around hiding her beauty all the time, but let herself live in the way that she was created. And hey, enjoy beauty.
Mm,
Then she was attacked and it was made to be her fault. And
yeah.
even if Athena was protecting her by making her monster, she lent her sword to take her head. So, like, I would question that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Oh, but there's so much here. What are some things that have been helpful for you in the healing process and the reclaiming process?
I think, it's an ongoing journey. Um, but I mean, even just today, something came through, because obviously, because I'm an astrologer, I'm constantly tracking the transits, where are these asteroids? How are they interacting with my chart? And Medusa, so as the asteroid, and for me, Medusa, the asteroid is different from the fixed star Algol, which is the head. Medusa is kind of the whole archetype, the goddess and the monster, and all that she sort of, comprises. She's actually moving through Aries right now. And she's on my natal Chiron, which is my biggest wound. So it's and then Chiron in Aries is quite difficult, but it kind of brings up this kind of wound of, not being enough and, have you got the right to exist? And yeah, it's basically the wound of identity, which is ironic because it's the wound of identity and not knowing who I was that kind of brought me into astrology, and Medusa's kind of come through as part of that. But with Medusa in Aries right now, what I realized, because I feel like I've been hiding behind and this kind of witch wound and, kind of like, oh, it kind of justifies the fears and the way I feel and my hesitancy and, my kind of, I have to perfect and polish everything and edit it, and again, I've been kind of realizing that actually I don't, because the more authentic we are, the more it resonates. But the realization that I think you said it earlier on at the beginning of this conversation, that actually kind of using the kind of, well, saying, oh, I'm afraid of being visible because of this kind of persecution, complex and all this stuff that's happened to me in the past. It's stories, and it's actually, yes, it's versions, yes, it might be real, and yes, it might be real experiences, and it triggers a visceral and obviously a freeze response, but actually it's not necessarily going to happen in this lifetime. And it's almost what I realized today, and I think this is part of my healing journey with Chiron and Aries and Medusa being a big part, because Medusa is in Leo for me, which is all about being seen and, being on the stage and being visible, is that actually the only person that is standing in my way in this particular lifetime is me. And actually, yes, the fears feel very real, but I have got this choice and this power to be able to just almost like say, okay, yeah, I see you, I feel you, but I'm not going to be ruled or dictated by or controlled by you anymore. And that was quite like, oh my God, because that takes, I mean, I can feel actually my body go like kind of really responding to that. But yeah, I think it is about getting out of our own way. And
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we are the author of our life.
Mm,
We are the authority of our life.
mm, mm,
And it's so it's like this the shift of pattern right now from that victim mindset. I know lots of people are talking about this, but from that victim mindset into the sovereignty. And it's tricky because we have good reason to be scared. It's very
Yeah.
real. It's still real and still
Yeah.
happening. And I'm sure many of you, I remember my lives. I remember very deeply, like it was this life, being drowned as a witch, and so many lives of being persecuted for who I was. And after that, after who I was being someone beneficial for the community, still being persecuted. A seer, very beneficial for the community. Someone who's there to support Athena, very beneficial for the community, and still persecuted. So, but it's that moment in the wound, it's the moment in the healing process for me, and maybe this resonates, where we can choose to stay justifying our reality as being in that victim place, or we can choose that authorship and choose a new narrative going forward that will be new. But when we do that, in my experience, when I do that, I have new skills and I have more of myself available to be able to show up in a different way going forward. So even if the same thing were to happen, I would approach it in a different way. And so it won't go the same way this time.
Yeah, because I think what we didn't sort of mention as well is this and the fact that because Medusa was ultimately, her head was severed, there's a whole story of the throat chakra, the attack on the voice, the silencing, but also that fragmentation and this kind of sense of, the head being separate to the body and, and the heart and the mind sort of being split up, which obviously then affects your ability to, allow that sort of Kundalini energy to move up, and it's difficult to ground. And so yeah, it's the silencing, and it's that I think, for me, it's shown up in the most crazy, like physical ways where well, fear of dentists for a start, also like grinding teeth, clenching my jaw, neck problems, headaches, and yeah, and kind of this also when I think of her snake hair, it's like all these kind of crazy, energy tentacles like going mad, and it's like all these voices, all this, which is also, I think, what you would get as an oracle or a seer is like, how do you kind of bring all that really high frequency energy in and make it work and almost control, well, not control it, but harness it, and ground it and embody it. So yeah, there's just so many different tangents you can go down with this story. But yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. So, I mean, what's interesting about the curse that was put
Yeah.
on her is it seems like one interpretation is it amplified what she already had. She already had powerful hair, and then this was even more powerful and
Yeah.
wild, and all these different heads now. She
Yeah.
already was able to tap into so many different realms, and now she's got this ability to feel so. I mean, it must have been just like, if I feel into what that could be, it's like antennae going in all
Yeah.
directions. And now, even though her eyes are still in the front, she can taste the air back here. She can feel, hello, kitty. He might come around.
Oh.
um, oh, baby. Come here, baby. Come here. Oh, this is Gandalf the Grey.
Oh.
Hi, baby. Yeah. And then she already was able to see the truth.
Mm.
And as somebody I have a pretty direct gaze, I'm not a small talker. I know that one of the first things my husband said when he first met me was like, I can't look into your eyes for very long because like you're so much. And I just said, you'll get used to it. But that was hard for me. I knew that when I walked into a room or when I look at somebody, I'm really looking at them. I am beholding
Mm.
them. And for some people, that's like, yay. And for some people, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that is something I would minimize or, um, but I one thing that's been helpful is to think of that energy as a medicinal dose.
Mm.
And what they do with the medicine is up to them, but I'm still learning how to be more open and compassionate and loving in what I share, but to let people really be seen and feel what that's like to be seen
Yeah.
with love, you know.
Yeah. I think, there's this kind of fear of, with Chiron in Aries, it's like, yeah, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. But then there's that also the polar opposite of I'm going to be too much. And it's like constantly, and I think with Medusa as well, it's the same sort of energy. It's like constantly kind of, putting yourself out there, but thinking, oh, no, 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 my truth, my energy, my power, my intensity is too much. And because I'm like you, there's a lot of depth and, I don't really superficial kind of surface level. I'm just like, nah, I want really deep conversations. Um, and but then, am I going to be too much for people? Or, are they going to judge me? Are they going to be repelled by me? Are they going to be hurt by me? Which again, it's like that's so not going to happen. But obviously, there's memories of when that has been true. So it's like almost you silence yourself, or you'll dilute yourself, or you kind of apologize to yourself. It's like, I don't want to take up too much space. It's like it's constant kind of, yeah, to and fro juggle, which is exhausting. And I
Oh,
with the whole just thinking about the astrology for this year and going forward, it's time for us to let go of all these like old stories and these old kind of limitations and just realize that actually we can only be who we are, and the more authentic we are and the more real we are, the bigger gift we give to everyone else around us. And I think that it takes people, not everyone has got the courage to kind of go, stand up and say, well, this is me and this is my truth. And yeah, it's completely, I mean, sometimes I think, the stuff I talk about is like completely like way out. But the more I do it, the more people go, oh my God, I'm so glad you said that because it resonates so much. And people aren't talking like that. And I just think, oh, it's scary, but it's also really needed. So yeah, authenticity
mm,
is like, one of the key words for this year and beyond.
mm,
Because why would we try to be anyone other than, than who we truly are?
mm,
Um, so yeah, it's certainly a journey, but it is about being able to hold your power and not be terrified of it.
mm,
And I think, yeah, and not be fearful of what other people are going to think, because I'm very good at kind of making assumptions and having an expectation of what. I was like, well, it's none of my business. Why do I spend so much time worrying about that? But it's, yeah,
yeah.
something to overcome.
Yeah, I did a one woman show, it was a short in one that women were doing of little single one woman shows about that, noticing myself, that pattern of shrinking my energy around
Mm.
particularly men. It was like I would go into a room just in my life, and
Yeah.
notice, oh, that man seems to be the most powerful here. And I don't mean powerful like in a yucky way. I mean like, ooh, I see that guy. I see you over
Mhm.
there. And I would
Mhm.
let my energy be just slightly lower than his. And then I would give him the rest, even though my energy might have been quite a bit more. If I
Mhm.
let myself be in my full, tall,
Mm.
connecting all the way out into all the stars, hair, whatever.
Leon Lioness type, yeah.
Yeah. I would just get, and I was like, why am I doing that? That is so weird. And it wasn't even, it was just, and what would happen was I would give him that extra energy. He would notice, he would like it because it feels really good to be given energy. And so he
Hmm.
would give me energy. And it was that old pattern of, I will protect you when you make me feel good.
Hmm.
Wow, just that right
Mm.
there. So then in
Mm.
that role, my job is to make him feel good so that I will be safe from him usually,
Yeah.
but from anybody is the kind of that old model. We've done that. check. Totally told that story to ourselves all the different ways. And
Yeah.
so I'm interested in now, I started practicing what would it feel like to not do that, to not apologize, not have to push my energy anywhere, but to just let myself be all that I am
Mm,
actually in this moment
mm,
and be present here and not needing, I can still clock people. I can still have fun and be interested in this person if we resonate. But it doesn't, and it was something, let's see, I'm just to see if it was different with different genders. I'm heterosexual, so I know that that was a specific thing, but
mhm,
I think it was kind of with whoever was the most, yeah, it was also a bit of a leadership thing of if somebody else was leading that space, then I can be a very good student and I can just come in and make sure that I'm doing everything that the way that they want to. And because when I ask questions and I'm a question asker, then if it's a really powerful person, they might start seeing me a particular way. And then I have to go through that little
mm,
thing until they
mm.
go, okay, I'm still number one or whatever. It's so interesting. And we see it in nature. But that difference of I can still be in my full self and honor this person is leading this meeting or this
Mhm.
room or this moment, or we're all sharing together and start seeing the fullness in everybody there, and not make it need to be a hierarchy in
Yeah.
how I'm choosing to interpret this moment.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And I think sort of moving forward, leadership is going to look very different for us. I mean, I think we still have got, this real kind of patriarchal, control, top-down type approach. But certainly in the astrology, I can see there's this new way kind of coming through, and it's about people who just are so clear and confident and know who they are and what it is that they're here to do and what they have to do, that they will go along, and it will kind of, I can see again, it's not an overnight job, or maybe it might be, quantum leaps are possible, but this kind of, the collapse of competition and comparing and, kind of, yeah, it's just the new leaders just are so kind of solid and sovereign, that they'll just, they've got a job to do, they go and do it, and then everyone else sort of, can choose either to follow them or not. But it's not like, oh, you must do this, and you must. That's kind of what feels like it's coming through. And we've got, I would say, because Jupiter's about to move into Leo at the end of this month. So yeah, there's going to be, I think, a real kind of opportunity to be more visible, and I think for certainly my journey with Medusa has been really exploring about ways in which I don't feel safe to express myself. It does, and the fear. I think as Jupiter kind of finishes in Cancer and moves into Leo, it's like we will have done a lot of that work, sort of reassuring our nervous systems that it's safe, and we don't have to be hyper vigilant, and we don't have to like watch our backs, and actually, it is safe just to be whole and full of the self, which is kind of how I interpret the Leo energy. So,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I feel, yeah, there's well, this year is crazy in terms of, shifts and what's happening, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the Leo energy coming in
Mm.
fully, and
Yeah, and
yeah.
in your beauty, I would love to talk
Yeah.
about that word and your relationship with that word, and mine is fraught, but I would love to hear for you what yeah, what's your relationship with beauty, past and current,
Oh,
moving
that's a
forward?
really interesting question, because I have never, and again, this might be part of me that is kind of frozen, numb, shut down, but I've never really kind of, thought of myself as, I don't know, yeah, the kind of image, and yeah, it's not kind of big on my radar, but I see beauty in nature and flowers. But yeah, I think. I mean, beauty is not just appearance, is it? It comes from the soul, and it's that yeah, that radiance that shines through. So yeah, but certainly image and how I look has never been, I don't know.
But I mean, were you told certain things? Did you have an idea for yourself? Are there stories that you've told yourself about? Yes, we're all beautiful inside. And I'm
Mm.
interested in physical, because this is one of the matrices I feel we've inherited and have been put upon us that I'm interested in pulling apart and looking at.
Yeah.
What are some of the stories that you've been told about beauty in general, about yourself, or some of the stories that you've told yourself, if you feel comfortable sharing?
I think, I mean, there is that whole kind of, you don't want to like show yourself up. You don't want to make, be too, I don't know, provocative or too sexy or too, yeah, too out there. So I think I definitely, for me, it feels safer to kind of, sort of draw back and be a bit more, yeah, subtle, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess you're in a totally different industry, so where,
Yeah, but I thought
beauty
there was a
is.
video a bit ago where you said something about you wore a dress and you went out and you felt beautiful. Did you say something about that? That it was something that you were
Possibly.
working on. It was a while ago, it was some months ago.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah, I
don't
thought there was
tend,
something where you like wore a new dress and you just
yeah, I don't tend to it's interesting because I was doing some work with someone recently where it was all about devotion and embodiment and sort of, connecting to your like sensual feminine side. And I was like, I've never really felt that feminine, even though I am female, and I've never really kind of connected to that part of me. And I was saying, oh, I keep thinking, oh, I'd really like to like wear nice dresses. And she was like, Louise, she said, the feminine is not, it's not a look, it's a frequency.
mm.
And I was like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's really, I mean, you can tell I feel a bit uncomfortable talking about it. So it's obviously something that I should maybe sort of dive deeper into because
It's an
yeah,
option. It's an option.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
done a
yeah.
lot of diving because I knew when I was 8 that I wanted to be an actor.
Mm,
Um, and that's a very visible job. And as I mentioned,
mm,
shy little person who never felt like a kid, always felt like an adult,
hmm
but also never felt beautiful, certainly, or pretty, or
mm,
any of those things, and had my predominating memory of watching movies with my grandmother and mother was like judgment, oh, she's a classic beauty, oh, she's not, oh, well, like just this litany the whole time. And I don't
yeah.
think they were even aware of it. I know they inherited it, but I was watching this and what that does and trying not to. I've shared this with my mom and she's apologized for this, and I know it wasn't even intentional. But I remember when I was probably 9, something like that, and I got my first bathing suit that I was able to choose for myself,
hmm
which had these 2 little holes cut out on the side, and it was like rainbow, and I felt so. And I went into the dressing room myself, and I tried it on. I think maybe they were there too. I can't remember, but it's that I was probably younger than that. I must have been like 7 or 8 or something. I don't know. But anyway, I remember walking out at my grandma's house and I put it on. Yeah, I think I was alone in the dressing room because this was their first time seeing it.
Yeah.
And this must have brought up all kinds of fear for them. But they were
Yeah.
behind me and I was walking in my new bathing suit and my grandma said, "Oh, well she's a pear just like us." And my mom said, "Yeah." And I just turned around and I was like, "I am not a pear." And it was one of those that like I could feel this matrix of shape being put upon
Yeah.
me. And I
Yeah.
knew they weren't intending anything, but my gosh, did that take me a long time to go, like, what's wrong with a pear? Pears are
Mm.
beautiful. I love pears. And I'm an hourglass, but I didn't know that until way later when I
Mm.
looked at that. Not that it's better than a pear. I love pears and I'm certainly also that shape, but it was like just that from that very early age of being aware of those things. But then also I developed young. I like never, I maybe I was too Medusa-y in my gaze, but
Mm.
I was asked out one time in all of my youth. I never felt pretty except when I was on stage.
Yeah.
And when I was on stage, I got to play an adult or I got to play whoever and be in my full energy, not just the girl who's asking questions in class, but, a character.
Mm.
And so, really, it was COVID that I started exploring. Okay, I've part of why I became an actor was so that I could be all of myself.
Hmm.
So, are there more ways that I can allow myself to be more of myself in my life? Which changed my relationship to acting.
Yeah.
But then it was when I was living in New Zealand in Wellington, that I did an acting class, and I was given two scenes. Everyone else was given one, but we were an odd number. And I had two scenes, and in both of them, I was like the pretty girl. I was like, "What is this?" And she said, "Oh, I guess I was typecasting." Well, I'd never been typecast as the pretty girl, and and so I was like, "What's going on?" And then she had me and the actor be face to face. And before we read the scene, she asked him, "Okay, just look into each other's eyes." Here we go back into Medusa.
Mm.
Look into each other's eyes, and then she said to him, "You say the first thing that you think of." And he said, "Well, she's beautiful." And everyone in the class just said, "Yeah." And I was like, it was like the whole world swirled around me. I was like, "What's going on?" Because I never felt beautiful. And then it was like, could I be also physically, like, is it okay? Is it
Yes.
safe
Is it safe?
for us to be,
Is it?
because we freaking
Yeah.
all are gorgeous.
Mm.
And so letting myself enjoy
Yeah.
being in my beauty frequency is something that I would, if you feel called to let yourself enjoy being in your beauty frequency, go for it.
Mm.
Because the times when I've let that be how I'm experiencing myself, then I'm adding to my gaze.
Yeah.
Beauty
Yeah.
is seeing you.
Yeah.
Divine beauty, we get to be these channels for these frequencies. Divine beauty is beholding you. And when I've seen how people feel when I'm bringing that energy to it, when I'm not
Mm.
shrinking that frequency, but I'm allowing the frequency of beauty, which isn't something that we created, something that flows through, to behold this person, ah, they feel it. And it's like
Mm.
very special. They feel
Mm.
so special.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think there's something very magnetic about, people who can just be completely themselves, and they're not pretending, they're not, masking up because again, and not shrinking. It's just like, and I think, we recognize that frequency in people, don't we? We're just like, oh my God, they're amazing. So yeah, and I think it's about particularly for me, Medusa and Algol, and there's lots of other sort of characters that come up in the different myths that I work with, but it's all about understanding that we have been fragmented, and we've kind of denied and rejected so many parts of ourselves, and you're sort of showing, the part that you've sort of sort of cut away from, and it's about bringing it all back so that we can feel whole again. And I kind of really do believe that this lifetime, this time that we're in now, whether it's a period of I don't know how long, but this is the time when we're here to do that,
Mm.
and all these missing fragments. Which actually is kind of a reflection of what's going on in society, and the fact that we are also separate and we're also disconnected from the land, from ourselves, from one another. And it's just another kind of metaphor, a way of kind of expressing that, and understanding that, again, we just use myth, don't we, to understand bigger patterns and yeah, and yeah, different stories within ourselves. So yeah, it's about bringing all those missing pieces back together and reconnecting that head and having the courage to see yourself, in as as a monster as well. It's the parts that we have been scared of as well, and and the parts that we're ashamed of, and and just bringing it all in.
Yeah.
Um, because as long as we stay in denial of certain parts of ourselves, then we're always going to feel there's something missing. And so, yeah. And
Yeah.
then you're all searching, aren't you? Because it's like, yeah, what's wrong with me? So it's
Mm.
way back.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that in because we are all aspects and
Yeah.
we are all capabilities. And so, yes, what we live into and give more energy into grows, but to do that in an integrated way where I'm taking in the
Mm,
monstrous parts of me
mm,
and my capabilities
mm.
too, and who I've been and bring that forward. So, to wrap up,
Yes.
um, it sounds like there are great energies right now for doing this work, this
Hmm.
healing work. Do you want to say anything about what we're heading into astrologically in with Medusa, or is there any last bits that resonate with you?
I mean, there's so much kind of we could go on because astrology is so vast, but I think for me, what I'm seeing right now is this real kind of phase of letting go of all these old ideas and all the ways we've been told, we kind of and even like ideas that we have in our head that because it's an idea in our head, we believe it's true. But all these kind of narratives and ideas and paradigms and mindsets. I see that if it's not serving us and if there's no truth in them, then they are being removed, dissolved, collapsing. Um, and I think, that is going to lead us into very what was effectively uncharted territory. Because if we're letting go of all these ideas and this reliance on the mind and the stories, it's like, okay, what do we have left? But this is kind of where the new energies are coming in. But yeah, it's I think it's an exciting time, but I won't deny that it's also a very uncertain time, very destabilizing time because, we're witnessing in real time the collapse of so many old ways, old structures, old stories. And in terms of like galactic astrology and our relationship as humans to something bigger and more expanded. Again, there's a lot of kind of disclosure and a lot of truths are going to be coming to light. So about who we are and how we fit into this bigger picture. So
Mm.
yeah, I think and we chose this time to be here and to experience it all. So yeah.
Yes, and you brought in that phrase, I choose, which Pam Gregory said recently on a video, and it's been changing my life. Just saying that continually throughout the day,
Mm.
I choose to be here with you,
Yeah.
Louise. I choose to place my head back, to reconnect my head with my body. You mentioned the stories I have in my head,
Yeah.
but hey, we've got this whole body that can
Yeah.
feel, who can feel whether that's true for us right now or not.
Yes, yeah.
And
And
so have that. Yeah.
yeah, and the beautiful thing because as I was working with Medusa, I've talked about this in my some of my videos, but I was literally because I'm very intuitive and she just kept appearing going, I want my head back. And I was like, what on earth? What, how, what, this is crazy. What do I even do with this? But it kept coming through. And what I think I realized ultimately, because there have been certain times where I have found it, I'm like, okay, and certain transits, alignments. But I think really it was about reconnecting that heart and healing this wounded throat chakra and being able to use the voice, but also just ground that energy in. And of part of my work, pretty much almost every video that I sort of do and sort of share, transit is all about coming into the body and feeling our way because the body doesn't lie, the gut, it's like you kind of get that gut feeling, don't you? And grounding in because if we're kind of being distracted or trying to escape and fly off other places, then we're actually missing the point and the opportunity that we've got to be here right now. But it's about being fully here,
Mm.
fully grounded. And when we're fully grounded, we can then sort of start to use the craziness that is the mind and all this
Mhm.
like crazy energy that, I think if you're an empath and intuitive, you're tapped into all these different streams and actually start to yeah, ground it in and stop being overwhelmed by it. And that's when you take back your power and sort of, yeah, stand in your
Mhm.
own.
Yeah, and even maybe a distinction, it can feel crazy, but sometimes it's just wild.
Yes. Well, it is.
I
It's
have a
power that is not being channeled, not
mm,
being used, not being, I don't want to say the word controlled, but yeah, it is about, channeling. If you think you've got all these airwaves and station, going on, yeah, it's like you need to be fully earthed to be able to access that.
mhm,
And it's just, yeah, when you're kind of in
conducted.
tune with, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the earthing, isn't it? Grounding,
Yeah.
plugging
Yeah, and I like
yourself
to
in.
think of roots too,
Mm.
because roots are alive and they
Yes.
bring in that. I mean, so is the earth, and ground, but it's like that connection all the way in that's bringing the energy forth and siphoning off, which I'm done with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
then
but you
that,
mentioned, go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, and then, that the Kundalini kind of rising up, then it kind of comes full circuit, doesn't it? Because we're constantly, we're able to, yeah, give it back to the earth, and she needs that as well. So, yeah,
And
there's
she
little
can,
mini conductors. I
yeah.
always kind of, with little batteries, like plug ourselves in, and yeah.
Yeah, and beautiful. Yeah, you were saying about the authenticity and the voice, and
Yeah.
my company 21 Accents. The motto is unleash your authentic self.
Mm.
So I'll put a little link to that as well because we do accent training, but also it's fifth chakra. It's your whole self. And we have a life and leadership coach there as well. So there's lots of stuff if people are interested in exploring more vocally and how the ways that we express ourselves vocally, we also get to choose. There's
Yes.
there's that piece as well. And
Yeah.
it is an organization that we have multiple coaches and we do it together. Everybody has sovereignty with
Hmm.
their what they choose to put out and what they choose to do. So we work together really as a collective. With a
Mm.
conductor, it's still helpful to have a conductor
Yeah,
to,
yeah, for
yeah.
guidance and yeah, steering, orientating. Yeah, yeah. But I think talking about the voice and sort of song and singing, I mean the guidance that I keep getting as well is that, frequency and sound is going to become so much more important to us. And again, that as well as stories, it's through song that we remember, and it's music that kind of opens up the memories, and also unifies. It's like the song and music has got the power to, yeah, just bring everyone together in a way that I don't think anything else really can. So, yeah, I feel
So pure. Yeah.
that moving forward is going to be, yeah, it's almost like being able to retune the frequency that we're running on so that we can start to hear that kind of cosmic harmony that is, I think, there all the time. But again, we've been disconnected from it. Yeah, so.
Yeah, but now we get
Yeah.
to experience it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. In whatever way it appears, I think, I always have an idea of an expectation of what it is going to look like, but it's never what you expect, is it? So it's like being
Well,
open.
that's fun, isn't it?
Yes.
We're here
Yeah.
as humans because we like a bit
Stop
of
trying to
surprise.
understand. Yeah. Stop trying to understand and like, yeah,
Yeah.
plan.
Predict. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's fun, but it's fun to do kind of in an unattached way,
Hmm.
feel into what's coming and then be surprised by how
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
oh my dear, I could talk to you forever. But I think we'll wrap it up for this one. Thank you so, so much for all that you do and for sharing and diving into Medusa with me today. Please check out her channel if you don't already know her work. And if you do already know her work and haven't done a reading, I just highly, highly recommend. It's
Yeah, thank
beautiful.
you. Thank you.
The other products
Mm,
at Spiral Right Insight. So we'll link as
that is
well.
me. Yeah, my website. We'll put that in the below as well. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so
Oh,
much. Take
it's a
care.
joy.
Love to everyone.
Okay. Bye.